Showing zeros. There we go. Looks like it's recording to me. Let's.
Okay.
What do you say we do it? That sounds good. Awesome. Let's do it. Looks like it's recording. I'm Michael Vincent. I am a Sustainiac. The other Sustainiac today is Bill Kascel, and he is Senior Vice President of Sustainability at Kuehne Nagel. I believe I got that title right. Did I, Bill?
Yeah, sustainability solutions, actually.
Oh, sustainability solutions at Kuehne Nagel. Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for the correction. Welcome to the show, my friend. How's everything going?
Good, Michael. Just booted my second case of COVID, so
Ooh.
The world's looking up.
Wow, 3 for me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, two vaccines, a booster, and 3 cases of. So I'm good, man. I'm like the Teflon for COVID now. There's no way I'm getting it a fourth time.
I hope so. I didn't think I'd get 2, but you never know. I'm just too much travel and too many conventions.
You know, Bill, when we do this, when I start this, I always look and I stalk people on LinkedIn and stuff like that. I do that anyway, so I can say, hey, wow, Bill Kascel, we got to get him on. He's going to be really good on the Sustainiacs. But then there's also those times when I look back and I think, how the heck did they fall into this? Because, they were, a circus clown or something like that. But I mean, you didn't flunk out of clown school or anything like that. You basically been just graduating through the ranks of Kuehne Nagel for the last, I don't know, not to date you, but it looked like 150 years to me. I mean, did you found the company? You've been there forever, bro. How did that happen? 43 years, I think.
Yeah, I mean, little information on KN. We're 79,000 people in 1,300 sites in 100 countries and started in 1890. So I wasn't quite around that.
Wow. I wasn't far off. You could almost done 150 years, almost.
Yeah. And look, we're one of the world's largest logistics providers, sea, air, road, contract logistics, and really like to focus on, integrated solutions for customers. But, it's so you say that, I mean, I have seen the company evolve. Obviously, when you talk about a company that's 130 years old,
yeah,
they were called freight forwarders back then.
Yeah.
And of course, now we are global logistics partners for our customers and, work in specialized solutions in a lot of major industries across the globe. But, the foremost thing to us is the customer. So being, an industry leader, we want to work in things like sustainability. And for me, I started in KN with my first job at Kuehne Nagel in Chicago in 1980, just out of college. I worked in air freight operations and then progressed into sales. 1987, became the branch manager of the Minneapolis office, which for a while also encompassed the Kansas City office. 2004, I was persuaded to move to the North American headquarters office here in New Jersey, where I'm sitting now, Jersey City, to manage the Trans-Pacific development. And did that until 2010 when I became the head of
They moved you to the East Coast to do the Trans-Pacific?
Okay, I that wasn't. This is the North American corporate office, and you will be here. So
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. They couldn't station you in Hawaii or something like that. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Continental Airlines was still a great carrier at the time, and I got used to buckling in for that 15-hour flight directly to Hong Kong. So
there you go.
It worked. Awesome. It worked.
It did. That is very cool. It's hard. I mean, people don't stay at, and they always say that people don't stay at companies very long, right? Like they used to, like lifers or whatever. Yeah. Why, what made you a lifer so far? I mean, at 43 years, I got to assume you're going to finish out your career there. What? Okay. How did that occur to you? What is the magic sauce there? Is it your magic sauce or their magic sauce or a combination of the two? Is it just such a wonderful place to leave that you wouldn't dare dream of leaving, or are you just that valuable that I should be trying to steal you for my own logistics firm?
Well, I've not bragging. I've had offers obviously throughout my career.
Sure, you had to have.
And it was always, it was, there's an old adage that one of our HR guys told me. They said, people don't leave companies, they leave managers.
I've read
And,
that. I've seen that,
and
and I've
I
done
think
that.
it's, yeah, and I think it's been a combination. I've been fortunate. I've always had an opportunity to advance almost when I asked for it.
Wow.
Sometimes they asked me, and I said, no, sorry, some personal things are more important right now, and that was always respected. So just having that opportunity, enjoying what you do, enjoying the people and the culture. And I think that's one of the things people always talk to about Kuehne Nagel is culture. How do you have people that are over 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, so many of them in the company?
Right.
It's part of the culture. It's collaborative. So you always feel like you're part of the equation, not being talked down to, but talked to.
Yeah.
And just things like that. Like I said, my first boss, pushed me to go into sales because he could see I was bored with operations. And then
Yeah.
when he needed a branch manager in Minneapolis, which he ran, he asked me to go there and told me, that it would be a great opportunity and help my career. Then the CEO called me after 17 years in Minneapolis and said, "We need you in corporate." And I said, "I got some challenges, younger children, et cetera, et cetera." And he accommodated it and gave me opportunity and pushed me. And it's just been a good ride.
That's awesome. I worked for, well, I can say I worked for Roadway Express. They're not around anymore. They're part of Yellow. But I mean, I started there in the 80s, and I was given, opportunities. But it came with the knowledge that if I said no, I just made a career decision, right? It didn't matter what, I mean, that's how it was. You do it
Sure.
or that's it. See you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you might as well quit. Because it's over for you. So it's good to hear that. Did you say Kuehne and Nagel? Is that how it's actually pronounced?
Yes.
Okay.
Kuehne
So I've
and
been
Nagel.
mispronouncing it for these 35 years. Excellent.
We listen. It's like my last name. If you look at it phonetically, you're gonna. My old boss, as a joke, used to call me Mr. Kascel because he was a Serbian who spent a lot of time in Italy, and he said phonetically, your name to me is Kascel.
Yeah.
I said, I don't care. It's pronounced Castle. So
Well,
the same
to
with the
me,
company. It's
being from
Kuehne.
Cleveland, Ohio, it's clearly Castle.
Yeah. So like I said, it's Kuehne and Nagel,
Kuehne and Nagel.
two
Okay.
gentlemen that founded the company originally. Yes.
All right. I've been my apologies to Mr. Kuehne and Mr. Nagel because I've been mispronouncing it forever. Let me ask you this. You've seen a lot of changes internally, right? And externally in the business. What are some of the things that you've seen over your 43 years in logistics? Because I deal with a lot of people. I've been in it for 35 years from all different types of angles. Right, I've been on the asset side, on a brokerage side. I've been in maritime. I've been in air freight. I've been in truckload. I've been in LTL. I've done all these. So, but your perspective is you see all that as well, and you see it from an international type of thing. People that call themselves veterans, and they are 10 years in the company,
Yeah.
kids basically to you and I.
Yeah.
Um, uh, they've seen the last 5 years and 3 years and go, holy crap! But there's been a lot of holy crap moments in the last 43 years, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, if you can imagine, I started in 1980 typing airway bills on a manual typewriter. So obviously, I've seen the technology changes. I've
Was it
seen the growth.
electric? Did you get to use an electric one,
No,
or you had?
no,
So you had
it
like
was
an old
manual.
Underwood. You had like an old Underwood, and
It
you're.
was the old beat the keys till your fingertips bled kind of thing.
That's
Made me
awesome.
glad I'd learned to play guitar, so I'd toughened up some part of my body. But
Oh, you're a guitar player?
no, I've played with a guitar. Let's
Oh, okay.
delineate there.
Well, I mean, I'm not on stage anywhere, charging for tickets, so I just play with a
Yeah,
guitar myself.
yeah, yeah. That's what I like to call it. Play with a guitar.
I got you.
Um,
I got
but
you.
that was very very rudimentary stuff we did, and you
Yeah.
actually drove to my first job. I drove to the airport every day and handed off documents and met an armored car because we were shipping industrial diamonds,
Oh,
and
wow.
and
Really?
and things like this, and just to see the way. But the biggest flow obviously is information, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you about it, the Quip machine, if you even remember back that far. that ran on chloroform. We found out later, and I sat next to it for a couple of years. So, um, telex to the just the
No,
way
the
we
Quip
communicate.
machine, was that the one that the drum that rotated? Is that what?
Yep, and spun like this, and after 20 minutes, printed out a manifest for you.
Yeah, but I loved the smell of that.
It was not good for you. It was
I know,
chloroform.
no, but it was still, it smelled, I like the smell. I mean, neither was, when I would walk across the line haul yard in Toledo, Ohio, it's a main
Mm.
line haul switch point for Roadway Express and a lot of
Yeah,
trucking companies
yeah,
between Chicago and Harrisburg. And you walk across there and you hear 50 air starters just go off. You never heard anything like that. I love that smell of diesel. We used to say that all the time. I love the smell of diesel in the morning.
and obviously now you're more sustainable.
I'm more sustainable, but I have a few less brain cells because of all that diesel.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, I sat by the Quip machine too long myself. So
Yeah, yeah. There's been a lot of changes, man. I remember when we'd send hot freight notices, and even then it was like, yeah, show me where the cold freight is, because everything was hot anyways back then too. But we used to sell it. We used to send it through the Twix messages on the AS400, right? And then it would print out
yeah,
somewhere on a dot matrix printer, and then a union clerk would come by, tear it off, throw it in a cubbyhole, and maybe during that shift somebody would check it and go, "Oh, we got to get that on that trailer." I mean, and that's how it worked, right? Back then.
yeah. No. And that's when you say why did I stay with Kuehne Nagel, I think that because we kept up with innovation. And some of it we did in house. We would reluctantly take some of it out. But that was one of the things that, if you thought you were with a cutting edge company and, these changes came along and the communication got better and, it made your life easier. And
Yeah,
you had less angry customers. So,
yeah,
another one of the reasons that, I interviewed with people occasionally, talked about their technology and thought, no,
yeah,
we've been essentially one company who did some very strategic bolt-ons. I saw, mouses swallowing cats and all these kind of organizations, you know, serial integrators. And it just became like, oh my God, how many systems do you work on? How do you do that? What is your
yeah.
aggravation factor?
You're right. You get that fatigue, right? And then when you've got all those different things running through the system, then you run into the problem that many people are realizing now and have over the last like 4 or 5 years as more and more integration, more technology comes in. You got all this siloed data that is in different formats, and you've got,
Yeah.
somebody spells Kuehne Nagel, Keuhne, some spell it Khune because they know there's an H in there, but they're not sure where it goes, right? And some of them
Yeah.
put the ampersand and not the plus sign because plus isn't and then you have all these
Yeah.
like I'm saying, aliases out there, right? You can't get all your information together
Yeah.
because all these different formats. That's really interesting. So keeping all that stuff internal helped with that quite a bit,
Oh,
that is very cool. That is very cool. So it was COVID the worst thing you've been through as far as the supply chains?
yeah. Because it wasn't just supply chain, right? It was life. I mean,
Yeah.
2008 when the economy took a big stop, you had that moment. You had
This
that
isn't
moment
going
of
out to little
hesitancy.
kids. You can say it, man. It took a big, big
No, no, no.
bump.
You
Took a
had
big
that
bump.
moment of hesitancy, right? Where you're like, wow, our economy's that fragile, and are we
Yeah.
going to pull out of this? But it
Right.
subsided. And
Yeah.
it created problems with I was in Transpac then. It created problems with the ports then, but COVID was far and away the worst
Oh
thing
man.
because
I mean,
it changed the way you worked, it changed the way you thought, it changed your perception of what you thought was just very simplistic thing called the supply chain, and it works. And sure, it has a glitch here and a glitch there, but suddenly it was broken, and it was breaking into more and more pieces. It seemed like as the months rolled on, and that was trying for a lot of people. I mean, thankfully, we had integrated with Zoom in the September of uh, 2019. So we were using Zoom a lot. We were trying to cut our travel expenses, cut our CO2, and we were all versed at it. So when we said literally on St. Patrick's Day, hey, go home, work from home, people picked up their laptop, they had Zoom on it, they went home, they started to work with each other on Zoom. And like I said, good planning, good luck. We didn't skip a beat, but
Yeah,
it was
because
still
the
driving.
infrastructure that people needed to implement and get used to, and still not only implement and get used to and be able to run it, but then stay productive,
Yeah.
and even more productive because of the situation we were in. And right, I mean, it's like a silly question. Was that the worst you've been through? Obviously, it's the
Yeah.
worst you've been. It has to be.
Mhm.
But being 78,000 strong and all over the entire world, that's how you guys did it anyway. Right? I mean, it's like, oh,
Well,
I have to
yeah.
work remote. Well, we kind of are anyways, right?
Yeah, and that's what and look, I took on a new role, right? I
Yeah.
agreed in January to take this job. COVID came in mid-March. I was still in the process of passing my job over to my successor, and just the things that it took, talking to people all the time, keeping them motivated. Trying to figure out, okay, we don't have to print everything, and no, you don't need a printer at your house. We're paperless now. We're going to live it for sure. That was, like I said, that was challenging. And then trying to have customer conversations, intelligent, rational conversations with
Yeah.
people about sustainability and why you should look at reducing air freight, more sea freight. What about biofuel, marine biofuel,
Right.
sustainable aviation fuel, EV trucks? And you could literally see people, they were shaking and smiling, but their hair was on fire.
Of course. I mean, meanwhile, they're shipping, Peloton bikes, air freight, and hot tubs.
Oh, and crazier things, trust me. I mean,
Oh yeah.
things that I thought I had the best experience of my life when I got a call from a gentleman, and he told me that someone from Target told them to call him, Target stores, of course, in
Yeah.
Minneapolis. And he said, I need a part charter, and I need it as fast as possible from Hong Kong. I said, sure. Give me the volumes, statistics. And he said it was, and when I asked him what it was, he said, wooden toilet seats.
Oh my gosh.
Excuse me?
They're air
He said,
freighting.
yeah, wooden toilet seats. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to ask, why? And he said, I had a problem with my factory in China. The order isn't going to make it in time. I have a commitment to Target. I'm going to make it. I said, oh, okay. I'll do the best I can for you, buddy, because I can't
Wow.
think there's going to be a lot of profit left in this job. But then you saw COVID. I mean, people just said, listen, I have to have material on the shelf.
Yeah.
Customers they're at home, but they're coming out, they're shopping, they're bored, and this is my opportunity. So just try not to make it hurt too bad.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have two COVID projects in my backyard too. People had money and they were bored, right? I've got two in my backyard. I
Yeah,
built a huge 100 square foot playhouse with solar power and air conditioning and all that kind of stuff in it. And I
wow.
also built a what we call swing henge, which is this massive swing structure in my backyard. So you took over this. You took the sustainability job at Kuehne Nagel in January 2020, right? Right
Yes,
before everything blew up on us, our world changed.
yes.
Um, so how did that occur? Did the company say, "Hey, you're our man," or were you like, was there a personal, I want to get involved with this, let me do this type of thing, or how did that occur?
Well, our former North America CEO, who retired last June, we went back quite a while.
Uh huh.
Um, and so when I was in charge of the branch in this office and the area, they nicknamed me the landlord. So when the management didn't want to do something, I got to do it. So I would push him, and I had pushed him in my former role as the head of the Northeast area, that we should be more sustainable, and we should try to encourage the utilization of EVs for all the customer facing people we have out there.
Oh,
Let's really live sustainability. So I had worked with him on that, and our head of HR, and we got that underway. That you got a better car allowance if you drove an EV. That you got a better car allowance if you at least got X number of miles per gallon with mostly hybrid. And then when came to the job of completely revamping the two floors that we have here at 10 Exchange in Jersey City, again, along with the gentleman in charge of facilities, we push sustainability, things like this, recycling, doing better. Could we get composting in the building? So he came to me and he said, listen, our global CEO has said he wants this role for North America, and you're the best equipped person I know. Uh, you're familiar with the fuels. You're familiar with some of the objectives. You can create some of them on your own, but I would like you to take this job. And I said, done. You know, well, show me some paper with some numbers on it, but then done.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's always been a thing for me that goes back. I tell people the story when my first child was born in 1987. You're getting ready, you're anxious, you're trying to figure out how's my world going to change. And my brother walked into my house and he's wearing a T-shirt and has a picture of a plastic diaper, and it said above it, "This is a diaper," and below it said, "In 2,000 years, this will still be a diaper."
Oh, yeah.
And it really turned on a light switch, and I had to do some convincing with my wife to say we're going to go old school and do regular cloth diapers.
In
And
87.
yeah, and it kind of became this thing where, okay, because I've always had this aversion, if you will, to junk plastic.
Yeah.
We create too much of it, we just take it for granted, and we think that it magically disappears, and we know
Yeah.
better now. But this was just kind of that door opener for me. So I
Wow.
drove hybrids. I drove EVs as soon as I could afford one, get one. People will tell you I will switch brands of mustard or mayonnaise or salad dressing if I can't find it in glass. Um, it's really a personal thing to me because the old adage that you're only borrowing the planet from your children, right?
We're
So
just stewards, man. We're just stewards. Yeah.
yes. So
That's
that was to me, it was the perfect mix of a great role and something I could really get my teeth into, and a personal passion.
yeah. So it was in your blood, man. I mean, it was in your nature to take this job and say, yeah, I want this job.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. A lot of people have difficulty. I mean, there's a lot of CSOs now, right? And they're not strategy officers anymore. They're sustainability officer.
Yes.
And a lot of them are struggling with that role and how to do that because I don't think it was really a lot. They're they're not just namesakes or whatever, but I mean, to put together because they had to or because they should do it, and without the knowledge and the forethought of how does this actually going to interact with the company, right? And I've talked to other people like Eric Law from Urban Machine, who's saying, innovation really mostly comes from the small startups and stuff because you have these huge behemoth companies, and to steer them and to change and to make genuine impact is very difficult for them. You've managed to do that. How 78,000 people and you're driving this stuff, and we're going to get into it a little bit with the, roadmap 2026 and your sustainability report, some impressive numbers that are going on there in North America, if not all over the world for Kuehne Nagel.
Mhm.
How did Kuehne and Nagel, sorry. And so how does that work? How do you impact that through an organization that big?
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it's challenging because again, there's that old adage, it's big ships turn slow. In
Yeah.
our industry, we saw what happens when they turn slow and they kind of block up a whole canal. Um, so it's
Yeah, Suez became a verb, right? You just Suez that, or you just got Suez, right?
yeah, exactly. So like I said, it comes now with our you touched on the roadmap 2026, and it's four components. It's the what we call the KN experience, which is for our customers and our employees. We want them to have the best experience. Um, then there is the digital ecosystem, us, making sure that our innovation, our technology, our big data, our automation give us a competitive advantage, and we drive into that. Um, the market potential that we want to build on things we've been successful with, like healthcare, e-commerce, renewable energy solutions for our customers, and we want to be strong in the future growth markets. And the last one then is like encompassing this is living ESG. And it's easy to say, like I said, when people, I can't tell you how many employees asked me, when I first started, what do you do? What is that? I don't understand.
Yeah.
So it was ingrained in us that we need to bring up our coworkers, make them understand what it is that we do, the carbon footprint we leave doing it, and why we need to change it. And I think just generally society started to speak more and more about this. But I think KN really has always had this mission to, make the world a better place. And of course,
Yeah.
now when you look at it from a logistics point of view, you're like, okay, you've got to get rid of that carbon footprint. You can't air freight everything on a whim. So this has to permeate the entire company. And our former CEO, global CEO, who left in November of
Mhm.
2022, or sorry, in June of 2022, was really, again, personally embraced this, drove an EV, was big into deforestation causes, et cetera, et cetera. So it permeated through the company, and we drove it. And of course, like anything else, the message can get a little diluted here and there. But now with this, the four pillars for our roadmap of 2026, ESG is one of them. So now people understand, all right, we're putting our money where our mouth is. This is important to us.
That's
And
that's Go ahead.
that's the critical part, that they've named other people that I have counterparts now throughout the world. We talk, we collaborate, and we, I think, keep trying to push the company in the right direction when it comes to sustainability, because every one of my colleagues is obsessed with it as I am. It's not just, oh yeah, I got this job, and it's a personal thing as well as a professional one.
Yeah. Is it
So,
gamified across the company? I mean, is there like contests and who's more sustainable than the other and that type of
oh
stuff?
yes, yes. One
Yeah.
year, we always had a can trophy. So, as I said, our former CEO decided that one year it's not going to be about results and all this. It's going to be about green. It's going to be the green trophy.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was very exciting that we got to see that, and everybody competed for it, and people were trying to outdo each other. And, well, we did this beach cleanup. No, we are protecting this forest. No, we're planting things here. No, we've abolished plastic bottles in our office space. So it really did, and that's what it takes. It takes that kind of bottom up to really make it stick, because people can talk down to you and tell you what you should do, and you can smile and nod your head, and if it doesn't stick, it doesn't stick. But if you see your colleagues doing it, and again, that collaboration within Kuehne Nagel, and you hear about, well, oh, the Asia team did what, that South America is planting, wow, this is crazy, okay, we've got to keep up. So
Well,
that's the
you
way
also
it's
see the
coming through.
CEO driving it. You also see the CEO driving an EV instead of flying around in a private jet, burning the hell out of jet fuel and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
That
there's no
sticks.
such thing as private jets in Kuehne Nagel, trust me.
Yeah, yeah. That's really cool. I want to encourage everybody, because I read through it, and it's tremendous. But I want to encourage everybody in the audience and everybody's listening, go to Kuehne Nagel, KuehneandNagel.com, KUEHNE plus NAGEL.com, and read the 2022 sustainability report. It's impressive stuff. And you can get to the 2026 roadmap and stuff like that, because there's a lot of CEOs, and I get a lot of upper level people watching this, and you can, I'm sure it's out there to say, hey, we're doing this, but it's also, based on what you told me, there's some altruism there as well, as trying to spread that word, because we're all stewards, right? So go and
Yeah.
check that out. Now you mentioned a couple things there, right? You mentioned like, hey, advising a customer, listen, you can't air freight everything on a whim and stuff like that, right? So I led a discussion on sustainability in intermediaries at the Transportation Intermediaries Association, the meeting down in Orlando recently, and one of the discussions was how can, how should, and how will intermediaries impact sustainability in the supply chain and outside. What is your thoughts there? What is, I know, first of all, is it your responsibility? Do you have to do it? And then how do you get it done? Because I have a feeling you're going to say, yeah, it is your responsibility. But go ahead, answer the question in your own words.
Well, yeah, it is our responsibility. Like I said, again, we've always been. I like the word you use, stewards. So we're always trying to do this. So, and like you said, how do you make it stick within the organization? In 2021, we became the first air logistics provider to offer our customers sustainable aviation fuel for each one of their shipments. They could pick a shipment, pick all their shipments, and zero out their carbon footprint. Um, Earlier this year, we announced that What we have in fleet will be 60% alternative fuel, probably EV and possibly EV hydrogen hybrids by 2030, because we've got science-based target initiatives. And the biggest one for us is cutting our scope 3, which is 98%. Cut our overall scopes, but cutting our scope 1, 2, and 3 by 33%, taking 33% of the CO2 out of our activities. So it's behooving on us to make our science-based target initiative. And to do that, we have to provide these tools to our customers. We can't wait back and say, that's the steamship lines, that's the airline's problem, et cetera, et cetera. No, they expect us to, and I'm going to keep beating this dead horse that you gave me, steward them in the right way to do things. So if we say, listen, we can sell you these fuels, they're mode agnostic. You don't have to be at this port and that port, or that airport and that airport. You do it as it's called mass balance concept, effectively. We measure your CO2, which we can with our reporting systems, and show you exactly what your footprint is with us. And then we say, what do you want to do with this now? Here's some ideas. Let's talk about optimization. Let's talk about mode change, since you brought that up. That was always that untouchable, right? With most companies, no, can't.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Gotta be here next day.
No, I mean, even in my old days of transport, you put that on the rail. Are you insane? That's what, you don't need it for 3 weeks and it's cheaper. Yeah, but it's on the rail. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that we don't mind making money on air freight and then contract logistics to store it for you, but
yeah.
So we can do these whiteboard sessions with people and show them their footprint and say, let's spitball some ideas, but we want the stakeholders involved here, because the transportation guy goes running up to the CFO and the planning group and everybody and says, hey, I got this great idea and here's what we can do. And they're like, no, that doesn't work. Why didn't you consult? Right. So we want to make it consultative, get everybody in there. And then if they say there's only so much we can do there, there's only so much we can optimize, there's only so much mode shift we can do, then we have to talk about, real solutions, which are, biofuel for marine, sustainable aviation fuel for air logistics, EVs where applicable, HVO, HVO, hydrogenized vegetable oil, biodiesels, whatever we can help you with to just keep carving away at your CO2 footprint. It can be one thing, it can be that whole suite, but we've got to do it because we've got targets. Your targets are our targets as well. So
you're providing these solutions through the modes that you're securing for your clientele, right? So yes. That leads me to this. As the people that are providing that physical capacity, they can't just ride and wait for solutions, right? They've got to jump in and get along for survival, correct? I mean, that's getting more and more realistic. If you're not going green, you're not going to survive as a transportation provider, right?
No, or I think, in the longer run as a corporation. So science-based target initiative is really our North Star, if you will.
Gotcha.
So we are one of now, I think, 3,500 companies who have successfully gone through the 2-year ordeal to work on how can we do it, what are our targets going to be, what's realistic, et cetera. But there are 5,000 companies either with their targets approved or working on their targets. So this isn't just some whim, some passing fancy. You invest 2 years in something, you're going to be serious about it, right? Okay, maybe not my first 2 years in college, but I digress.
Wait, did you invest in it, or was somebody else investing it first?
Oh, no. I worked 3 jobs to get through college. So, I didn't have the silver spoon that I'm trying to pry out of my children's mouth.
So you didn't walk up to class and see class was canceled and go, yeah, you went, can I get my money back for this class? What?
No, I went, good. I can go to work earlier, maybe a few hours in. But so we're going out, we're investing in these fuels before we know that we've sold them. We're investing millions of dollars and then constantly engaging with our customer base saying, let us talk to you about solutions. We see that you've signed up for the Science-Based Target Initiative. We have common goals now. Let's talk about, solutions. How do we get our arms around this together?
So when you say science-based targeted solutions, right? I mean, I get it. So targeted, I mean, you can read it and company read the reports. Companies are building war chests, if you will, to defend against greenwashing because of targeted initiatives, because they're
Yes,
scared they're going to get sued because they're not making any progress towards them, right? So, I mean,
exactly.
what you're talking about is you can't have just a target that doesn't you because you're going to
No,
fa- if it's a wish isn't a goal, right? A wish is you sit around and wish.
exactly.
A goal you work towards, right? So this target
Yes,
implies that you're working towards it, and if you don't, legally somebody's going to catch you and your butt's going to get burned. And secondly, Kuehne Nagel's going to say, okay, where's your data, right? Because you need to provide that to your customers are relying on you to be able to certify that this is what's going on, correct?
right. Yes. No, that's really one of the questions that people have. And I was at the Gartner symposium week before last, where I probably caught COVID. Um, and I there were a lot of people coming in, and one of the conferences I didn't get into it because I was working with customers, and they came back and said, yeah, there's a lot of debate about data, this carbon data. Where
Sure.
are people getting it? How is it that one of my providers has a trade lane and they tell me my carbon footprint is X, and another one has the same trade lane and they tell me it's X plus 10% or whatever? So yeah, you have to be able to validate your reporting, your CO2 reporting. We use Eco Transit, a very advanced form of it, plus our big data, plus input from carriers. So it's not, it's not something made up. We can validate it, and that's what you've got to do. Because if you're going to go to the customer and say, "Here's your Scope 3 with us, we're your major provider," you need to take that down by 33%, and they invest money with you, and they invest in solutions, and then somehow, somewhere, they find out that data really isn't true, you could have some severe issues. So we really make sure that as of the last regulations in ISO, et cetera, our data is good, your data is clean. Because then they're going to take actions, then they're going to spend that money. And to your point, nobody wants to be accused 6 months, 2 years, 5 years later of greenwashing and not really making a concerted effort to clean up your footprint.
Yeah, and if somewhere it's documented that you said your carbon footprint is X, you're going to be called into that trial, right? So you better. I mean, somebody's going to go, wait, no. Bill told me, right? Someone's going to
Bill's
talk.
going.
Although you may
Yeah.
have met Joe Pesci when you were doing the diamonds to LaGuardia there in New York. When
No,
you're
no,
doing
that was O'Hare.
oh there was oh well hey then
No, 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 no. I wasn't anywhere near that kind of activity. Yeah.
I'm sure you weren't. I'm sure you weren't. So you've got a lot of initiatives that are going on there and stuff like that. So what, because when you talk about it, we're talking about the scope 3 and guiding your customers, et cetera. But you didn't, you have internal that you're going for as well. And one of them is 100% renewable electricity in all your locations. Is that right?
Yes. So that's like I said, that's a combination of things. So we are in our footprint. We have a large footprint in contract logistics, right? Huge facilities,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of square meters, and of course, they're the ones that eat up a lot of energy. So we are driving to put up solar panels on these facilities wherever we can, and make our buildings less costly, more efficient, etc. So that 100% goal is really us pushing with our customer in that development stage to say, listen, okay, we've got a 3-year contract. Here's the building. Here's the grade this building is. Here's what it does for you. And here's the eco rating of this building as well. So we want to make sure that because we sign a lot of time these back-to-back agreements, right? We're not going to throw up a facility for someone that wants just a 3-year deal. So
Right.
we check out the building. We want it to be as LEED certified, et cetera, as green as possible. And of course, like anything else, that costs a little bit more than that, pre-World War II brick thing over there in the corner that looks like it's falling down. So you've got to drive that initiative within the customer to say, this is what we're about. This is who we are. We want to bring you along in the journey. That's incumbent in the pricing and the service that we're going to provide you.
Yeah, and you guys don't just stop with trying to be a little bit green on the thing. I mean, if forgive me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it says you want to be grid positive when at
Yeah,
all possible,
yeah, that's
right?
like I said, that's a challenge because again, when I talk about these facilities, we lease facilities. We own very few strategic ones. So when you're going to lease something, you're somewhat at the mercy of your landlord.
Yeah, sure.
We have one large global landlord that I think everybody knows, maybe. Um, and
I might
like
be
I
able to
said,
guess.
very collaborative. And when we talk about new builds going forward, they're very much intent on helping us achieve our goals. We know what the
Yeah.
goals are, they understand them, we're going forward. And that makes us more attractive to the customer that has that similar goal. Because if you got somebody who's just transactional and they want a 2-year lease and they want bare minimum stuff and they're going to be out of there tomorrow, that might not be what we can facilitate because again, we want and we're responsible for that 100% green energy, cutting down on water utilization, and the biggest one, maybe even harder, zero waste to landfill.
Oh, nice,
Because you're
nice.
dealing, as we all know, you're dealing with the 50 countries of America,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
yeah.
And then within those countries are all different kinds of regulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
What can
People.
we
Yeah.
recycle? What can we compost, etc.? So through our facility partners, we always try to find a facility and a community that we can deal with so that we don't say, wait a minute, you're dumping all this in a landfill? No, we can't have that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
on the other side, working with our customers and saying, hey, we've got some new shrink wrap that we're working with in our air freight hubs. We'd like to introduce this to you because you're really using some dated stuff that we can't do much with. Same thing with strapping on boxes, different
Right.
ways to package. All of this helps us if we've done some work collaboratively on the front side, so we don't just have to go take it out the back door and, like I said, put it in landfill or struggle to find ways to recycle.
Yeah. Right. 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 Reducing that linearity of it and getting the circular into the mix. I think I understand that when you're interviewing or onboarding a service provider that you may then introduce into your network, they're going to have to pro- do did 100 have to prove that they're green, or do they have to agree to certain standards, or how does that work? Because I hear more and more and more, and when I asked the question at TIA, everybody in the room rose their hand when I said, how often do you get asked about your green initiatives and your carbon footprint on RFPs? How often do
Yeah.
you demand it from your people, and how often do you get demanded of it from your customers? Sounds like you guys push more than they're demanded by your customers. You're really encouraging them, right?
Yeah, we're really pushing. And again, I would say it, obviously the steamship lines and the airlines,
Yeah,
you know those relationships. Sometimes they need
sure,
you more than you need them. Sometimes
absolutely.
the
Yep.
coin flips.
Yes, it
So, and
does.
again, if you're going to move freight from point A to point B, it might not be the cleanest ship, it might not be the cleanest airplane. But again, having the ability to measure that by biofuel or by SAF and reduce that dirty vessel into a zero carbon footprint is what we can do by purchasing SAF and biofuel. And like I said, it goes into the market. It's used somewhere, maybe not in the same port, maybe not in the same carrier, but we get accredited for reducing our CO2 footprint that way.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah.
but when it comes down to vendors, like if you're going to come and talk to our facilities management people about shrink wrap, all the things that they want to sell you, you're going to be asked, let's see your catalog, let's see the greenest thing you've got, and how can we encompass that? And of course, hopefully it's not price prohibitive. We're willing to spend a little bit more, but it can't be something that's just new out of the box. And look, the shrink wrap will dissolve in the landfill in 2 weeks. It's fantastic. We'll take it. Well, it's 60% more. You know. So
Yeah.
we try to work with our vendors within with a sense of reality. If there's something that's not on the market yet, great. Please plug away. Let us know when you find it. In the interim, we'll work with the greenest materials you've got.
Right. Right. So let me ask you this: how the sustainability efforts within the supply chains obviously changes the landscape a bit. It
Sure.
changes, like you said, it changes the cost structures and stuff like that. It doesn't have to necessarily be more expensive forever, but there's going to be initial higher prices until things get more and more, accepted, and there's more volume and usage, et cetera. The more we use it, the more acceptance there is. Cost
Exactly.
usually tends to come down, and so you got to have those pioneers that are doing that in order to make that happen and get that going. And so there's a lot of internal type of things with the efforts to have uh, sustainable supply chains and logistics providers. Now, the global movement towards sustainability and really ESG, all three pillars of ESG, right? Because you got
Yes.
the whole thing. Um, those outside of the supply chain will impact how the supply chains and how those trade lanes move, et cetera, right? You have green corridors, right? Like I think
Yes.
is it Shanghai, LA is a green corridor they want to make? I think with ammonia or something like that. Is
Yeah.
that
Look,
so?
there's
How does that impact things? How do we need to be looking at that? What do we need to stay on? The people need to stay up to date on for impacts in that manner.
well, I think I'll just tell you one of the things that really got me excited. Um, there's all different kinds of, like I said, that sustainable aviation fuel is about 1.5% of all fuel available right now. So availability is a challenge. You have to understand, the limitations of technology today and hope for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Biofuels for diesel. 90% of the world's goods move on a ship, and about 70% of them move in container ships, right?
Yeah.
So biodiesel, things like that. Now you want to connect the dots. You want to have EVs on each side, right? You'd like to have a Class 8 tractor picking up your container, taking it down to the pier, goes on the ship. That's biofuel, comes off on the other side, reverse it. You put it onto the tractor that again is an EV, delivers it to your green DC, you win.
Yeah.
So trying to plug those things in. But now, especially when you're talking about a country the size of the United States, right? We talk about EV trucks, and our colleagues in Europe go, how can you do EV trucks for those distances? We say, okay, we understand it's somewhat limited. But something happened about 6 weeks ago that was really earth shattering to me. So every year I go to the Advanced Clean Transport Expo in California.
Mm-hmm.
You see all the new vehicles, all the new fuel ideas, hybrids of EV and hydrogen, ammonia, anything you can think of. And one of our customers, as well as a truck manufacturer, showed us their new Class 8 semi 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago now, and said, this has a range of 1,000 miles between the battery and the hydrogen fuel cell and will be available mid 2024. And we said, wow, that's fantastic. And then I joked, what do you do after the 1,000 miles? And I was, kind of being a smart aleck, but at the same time, that's a legitimate question.
It's
That's
a
fantastic.
legitimate question, right?
In
What do you
Southern
do after that?
California, where you can get all this stuff, and then you find yourself in the middle of Nebraska. And
Yeah.
so later in that conference, somebody told me a rumor. They said, listen, there's a company within, deep pockets that is looking to buy one of the major truck stop organizations in the United States and put in battery charging and hydrogen fuel cell. I said, well, go talk to these guys over here. They'll be thrilled because they just built a truck
Yeah.
that needs that.
Yeah.
So 2 months ago, BP came out with an announcement that they bought Travel Centers of America, 280 odd truck stops across the US. And in their opening statement, they said, we realize that we do have to move away from fossil fuels. And at our facilities over the coming years, we would like to offer EV charging, hydrogen fuel.
Wow.
That truck just became not an immediate, but now you see the horizon. You see
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
coming.
Right. Yeah. That's true. We still there's some issues to figure out how to make you know hydrogen truly green, but we're working
Yes,
through those. There's ways.
yes,
There's ways to do that, and there's ways to transport that. Ammonia is actually a hydrogen carrier, right? So is methanol, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
which
well, don't get me started on methanol. I grew up in Iowa. No food for fuel.
no fuel for okay.
Yeah.
I can respect that. I can
When we
respect.
talk about biofuels, SAF, marine biofuel, these are all waste material,
Yeah,
used cooking
yeah,
oil,
yeah, yeah.
etc. So, no, methanol, I won't go down that rabbit hole.
How about methane? Are you good with methane?
It's still a gas, you know? I mean,
It is certainly a gas. Yes.
yeah. I'll stick on the hydrogen bubble, no pun intended. But I think when you talk about how's that going to change, and this is not just all the people that are deep in logistics. This is you know the
Everywhere.
average consumer out there. Suddenly, if you're, let's say, it's I-80's covered. I-80 goes across the United States,
Yeah.
but you're 200, 300 miles south of I-80, north of I-80, and this is your DC. What's the logical thing you want to do now? If you're trying to be green, you want to put it in EV chargers,
Yeah. Yeah.
because that battery on that truck can probably get to you, but coming back up might be a challenge to get back to the nearest BP charging station, right?
Yeah. 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 That
So
makes
if
sense.
you've got a level 3 fast charger where this guy can unload his freight, come in, have a cup of coffee in your trucker room, uh, you know, catch up on his email, and then go out and he's got his truck charged to get back on the road, you're both successful.
You become a shipper of choice.
Exactly.
Even if maybe you want to let them use the bathroom.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You never know.
Let's not get crazy. But
Yeah.
but but this is what I think. That's something that's going to impact the way we work, and and how we can work.
Yeah, no, it really is, and there's companies out there that are already into the on-site charging and remote charging, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you got on-site fueling, and trucks will come down and fill your diesel tanks on your on-site. I had terminals that had that. We had that
Well,
at Tropical Shipping. We had our generators there, so we could run. They were run by diesel. We had our fueling stations, and now yeah, electricity. They're doing it with electricity, right? They're bringing it in.
yeah. And
Um,
and and a lot of them are very
it's
active in
cheaper
it.
than building the infrastructure and to have that draw that goes, like you said, 200 miles off the where you're at. You're in the middle of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It's not all that easy to draw that type of wattage to
Right.
set up a bunch of stuff. So, on site or remote charging, and you okay. So you're from the Corn Belt, and so there you go. How
Yeah.
you gonna, you got all those tractors and combines out there. You got to charge them puppies, right?
Yeah. Well, that's why when we talk about biofuels being waste material, because we don't want to, do the ethanol thing of raise crops, cut the crops. You're creating more and more CO2 with those monster, combines and everything out there, um, et cetera, et cetera. So what you want to do is try to keep it as clean as possible. So look, we're going to run out of biomass. I mean, God knows we create enough garbage, but not all of it can be converted into fuel. So there
No.
has to be more technology. And there are things now like with SAF that they're talking about using a plant that's essentially like a sugar cane derivative, and that they can grow it in large empty areas, clean harvest it, and turn it into sustainable aviation fuel to solve the problem of the huge density of fuel that SAF produces,
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
CO2 density
Yeah.
that's SAF produces. So there's going to be some trade-offs in the future, but these things are what excite me on a daily basis, and that I can say, okay, I think we can get there.
Yeah. I love it. Where do you see? What do you see in the future? Are we gonna see drone ships and drone planes and all of them running on electricity, or
You know,
where's the
I
future? Flying ships? Wait a minute, we have flying ships. They're just smaller.
yes,
But I mean, they're testing drone ships and they're testing that type of stuff. Has this become a reality eventually, or and even
I
AVs? Are you guys into AVs, which is totally different than sustainability? I realize that, but
yeah,
on a
yeah.
technology edge, what do you see there?
I think, like I said, the biggest problem we have to solve, and it's not just cargo, but it's also humanity. We like to
Yeah.
fly.
Yeah, we do.
We want to jump on a plane and go see the other side of the world.
Yes, we do.
It's one of the things that brought me into Kuehne Nagel. And when you asked why I stayed and why I stayed in the industry, I got to travel too.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got to see places I never imagined as a kid I would ever see.
Yeah.
And now it's become an expectation that, everyone should do that. And you should see the Great Wall of China. You should see the ice caps, et cetera, et cetera. But if we do it by flying and we keep doing it the way we're doing it, we won't have to worry about the ice caps. They'll come to us in forms
Yeah.
of flood.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, these sustainable fuels to me are at least the short-term silver bullets. Because if imagine if all the trucks could be EV hydrogen hybrids, all of us adopted to an EV car system,
Yeah.
and then I could take this on and on and on. But I mean, the amount of CO2 we could take out of the atmosphere would be phenomenal. So I think you want to look at the biggest creators of CO2 and say, this is what we got to go after first.
Yeah.
Then we'll look at the collateral stuff. So, hey, drone deliveries, as long as it's not going over my house, go for it. I'm 100%.
That's what I said, man. I can't see my neighborhood being cool with that. I mean, I just don't. I don't think that's. I'm
My
not
wife's
hanging out in
allergic.
my backyard on a weekend doing a barbecue and somebody's ordering, a 6-pack of beer being delivered, which they couldn't get. I mean, the max payload's 10 pounds. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
10.8
Don't
pounds.
worry.
Mobile.
They'll find bigger engines.
Heavy lift. Yeah, big Huey copters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, like Amazon delivers in my block now with an electric van.
Yeah, we get electric vans out in my block as well. Yeah.
It's the coolest thing, and we work a lot with Amazon, so I know what their green initiatives are and what they're trying to do. And it's that's the secondary thing to me. It's just the thing that you take for granted every day. I mean, everyone wants to drive an SUV. Somehow that became a thing in our society, right? Over the last 20, 30 years.
Yep.
So I think okay, I won't go into my personal, peccadillos about driving a large assault vehicle to go down to the grocery store. But, if you can do that and it takes zero CO2, okay, I'm not as crazy about it as I used to be. I mean, I have a Tesla Y. To me, that's a big car.
Yeah.
But I plan on doing traveling over the next years, and I have a daughter in Chicago, and New York, Chicago is only 10 hours. I can drive that. No CO2 from the fuel, from the aircraft, et cetera, et cetera. So if we can just adopt all of these things in our personal life, as well as what happens in industry, then let's look at the technology of, can you actually get on a plane that's powered by a battery or by hydrogen?
Yeah.
And how far down the road is that? But I'm trying not to look too far beyond, the end of my reality.
So let's get the elephants and remember to pick up the rabbits along the way. And then we'll worry about the new technology on how to do that type of stuff. I like that philosophy. I think that's great. And that's where we'll end this at, because, dude, 58 minutes went boom.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. It flew by. Bill, where do you want everybody to go to learn more about Kuehne Nagel, what you're doing there in sustainability, and actually, book some freight with you guys?
Well, obviously, like I said, start with our website. I think we've got fantastic tools there. You already gave it. It's kuehne-nagel.com. And it's, like I said, it can take you down a multitude of avenues. If you're out there, you're in our business, you know us, or you know of us, or that you need maybe someone additional in your logistics portfolio or replacement, you can easily find us. You can easily find, we've got a multitude of offices, personal offices throughout the United States, where someone will come out and talk to you and greet you and introduce you to all of the services that we can provide you. I'm always in touch with all of those people saying sustainable, sustainable, sustainable. So if you think you're there, but your provider doesn't seem to have the tools, I'm sure that we can help you and just show you in baby steps how you can get there.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Bill. This has been the Sustainiacs. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace and love.
Thanks, Michael.